Child is dead tonight after a fire at a Chicago Housing Authority apartment. Her family says boarded up windows trapped her inside and prevented others from rescuing her. Good evening, I'm Allison Payne.
And I'm Steve Sanders. Here's what's new at 9. Rescuers who were trying to get into the burning apartment tell WGN News tonight that they could hear the 2-year-old girl crying, but because the windows were covered by boards, they couldn't get to her. The fire happened on the west side at the Henry Horner Homes on 1900 West Washington. WGN's Randy Salerno has more from the newsroom. Randy.
Good evening, Steve. Sources say children playing with matches may have started the blaze. But the big question on the minds of relatives and neighbors is, why did the CHA have some of the windows in the first floor apartment boarded up? Now, the babysitter got out an open window, but other rooms were covered with wood. Some neighbors say they may have been able to rescue the little girl if the CHA had heeded calls in the past to tear down those boards. Now, after this fire started, some of the residents who lived in the Henry Horner homes tried to get at the little girl. She's 2 years old, but some of them thought the apartment was actually vacant because it was boarded up. They then tried to get in and found that the actual room the girl was in was inaccessible. Some residents of the Henry Horner home say the 2-year-old girl didn't have a chance. Her babysitter jumped out a window. Other people were trying to get into her first floor apartment, but the little girl's would-be rescuers say they couldn't get to her.
2 guys jumped in and went in, so they heard a baby holler. But they come back saying we can't get them because the smoke is too, you know what I'm saying? The fire, it escalated already.
Jerry Dixon and the others didn't give up, though. While they could hear the child screaming and knew where she was, they ran into a major problem.
And there were boards on the windows where the baby was?
Yeah, that's where the baby was. The baby was in the back room right here.
The broken boards from the baby's window are on the ground now, knocked out by rescuers and firefighters. Firefighters who tried but couldn't save the child.
First engine company got water on the fire immediately. In their primary search, they found a 2-year-old baby in this bedroom right here in the corner.
Residents say the CHA does not just board up vacant units. There are dozens of Henry Horner apartments with boards covering the windows and people living inside. Residents say management does that rather than replace broken panes of glass. Neighbors say Deborah Hudson, who lives in the now burned out apartment 102, was worried about her windows being covered by wood, worried enough to ask for help months ago.
Okay, when they first moved in there, they requested the board to be removed out the window. Okay, they kept saying they're going to send somebody over here to remove the boards off the window. Okay, the board's still up.
Tonight, other Henry Horner residents are concerned about the boards covering their windows, fearful the boards won't come out until it's too late. There were several CHA employees on the scene. When I asked them if the windows of the bedroom the little girl died in were indeed boarded up, at first they said no comment, and then they said they didn't know. We tried to get an official response from the CHA tonight, but they did not return our phone calls. Reporting live from the newsroom, Randy Salerno, WGN News.
Randy, thank you. That 2-year-old girl has not yet been identified, and all 4 people, including 2 6-year-old boys and an 11-year-old girl, escaped without injury.
A West Suburban man told investigators last week that his dog stepped on his baby girl. She eventually died. Tonight, he is charged with first-degree murder. The charges stem from an incident February 17th in Lombard. That's when a man called 911 because little Alexis Kynes was having trouble breathing. The 29-day-old died 7 days later. Police say that 31-year-old Bruce Kynes told them that the family dog had stepped on the baby's throat. But after further investigation, the DuPage County State's Attorney's Office says the child was violently shaken. Kynes is held on $5 million bail.
More stolen property has been recovered tonight in what police believe may be related to a larger fencing ring run by organized crime. The goods were discovered at 83rd and Hamlin on the city's south side. WGN's Jackie Bang is standing by now with the latest. Jackie, good evening.
Well, Steve, about a half an hour ago, a semi-tractor trailer left here, and it was filled with what police called stolen items. They began filling the truck about 2.5 hours ago. A search warrant was executed at this home at 38th and Hamlin, and police say they found the stolen items in the house and also in the garage. They say this is part of an investigation, ongoing investigation into a multi-million-dollar fencing operation, which we first learned about on Thursday. Here is what they found tonight.
As you can see, plenty of tools, a lot of tools. Generators, snow blowers, an assortment of hand tools. This is from the ongoing investigation from 2211 North Cicero. We developed information which led us here with possibly more property that was taken.
Police believe that these items were stolen possibly from construction sites and garages. Now, you remember last week, police confiscated about 5 truckloads of stolen items from 2 places, 1800 North Race and Cicero and Palmer. There's a storefront there. Roughly $2 million worth of stolen merchandise, everything from clothing to toys, allegedly stolen from freight trains. Arrested in connection with that was 52-year-old Alphonse Matria and 73-year-old Charles Perilli. They are said to have ties with organized crime. As for this one, police do believe there is a connection. At this point, though, no arrest. Reporting live from the Southwest Side, Jackie Bang, WGN News.
All right, Jackie, thank you. Police are looking into the possibility of foul play in the case of a woman and her 2 adult children who disappeared while delivering newspapers. The 3 haven't been seen since they got near the end of their newspaper route in Joliet early Sunday morning. Tonight, the only lead in the disappearance of Karen Bacco, 23-year-old son Thomas, and 26-year-old Tracy is a minor accident that happened Sunday. Police say Karen's 1989 Dodge Caravan was involved and want to talk to the other driver. The van has a broken passenger side mirror and a license plate reading Mina 8. Police are investigating several reported sightings of the van.
For the first time since being brought back to Illinois, 15-year-old Elise Reichart will begin to resume a normal teenage life. Reichart was allegedly abducted by her mother in 1991 and returned to Illinois last December after a friend in Arizona recognized her in an age-enhanced photo. WGN's Dana Kozlov was in court and joins us from the update desk with today's custody decision. Dana.
Allison, Cook County Judge Karen Shields acknowledged this is a very unusual case with unusual circumstances, but she decided to go with Cook County Public Guardian Patrick Murphy's recommendation that Elise Reichart live with the Chicago area clinical social worker during her mother's criminal trial and her divorced parents' custody battle.
Judge Karen Shields says it's in 15-year-old Elise Reichart's best interest that she live with clinical social worker Jeannie Walsh. Shields says it's not perfect, but it's the best they can do right now. The temporary foster placement means Reichart will again attend school and interact with people her own age for the first time in almost 3 months. Ever since a friend in Arizona recognized Elise from this age-enhanced photo and notified authorities.
She's met Ms. Walsh on 3 times. She's been to her home, and they seem to get along very well, according to Irene, according to the child. She said she'd rather go to Arizona, but as a fallback point, she said she'd like to live with Jeannie Walsh.
Reichardt's father, Michael, who legally has custodial rights, backs the idea.
She has said herself that she likes Jeannie Walsh, that she likes the school. There's some kids that she's met her age. And finally, she can get into a social environment and get her mind off of all this stuff.
We are disappointed from the perspective that I don't think that there has been sufficient investigation regarding the potential foster placement.
But attorneys for Jolianne Taylor, Elise's mother, are concerned about the placement, saying Murphy's office didn't give enough information about Walsh's background. Murphy discounts that.
Well, the judge continued the case for 12 days and specifically gave them the right to go visit Jeannie Walsh, and in fact Ms. Walsh called them and gave them 3 days to visit, and they never visited, they never called her, they didn't check out the house. They were just playing games.
The teenager is allowed weekly supervised visits with her mother, who faces a criminal trial for allegedly abducting Elise 9 years ago. And for the first time since her ordeal began, Elise was able to voice her thoughts, with only the judge and attorneys listening in.
She's a cooperative child. She will cooperate with this court in its endeavor to get things done. But she's 15 years old. She would like very much to go back to where she lives and where she belongs.
That attorney is referring to Arizona, and allowing Elise to live in Arizona until the court cases wrap up was an option, but an independent psychiatrist later rejected that idea. Elise will move in with Jeannie Walsh this week. There will be a status hearing in 2 weeks to make sure she's adjusting to her new environment. At the update desk, Dana Kozlov, WGN News.
All right, Dana, thank you. And Jolianne Taylor will be in court for her criminal abduction case next week.
No, it is election night in Cicero and the suburbs. And in Cicero, the voters cast their ballots with federal observers looking on. Candidates for town president are trying to unseat powerful Republican Betty Lauren Maltese. On the Democratic side tonight, Joseph Moreno, a Cook County commissioner, is running against attorney Victor Armendariz. Here are the latest numbers. With 100% of the vote in, it looks like Betty Lauren Maltese on the Republican side has just overwhelmed Emil Shulo, her opponent, Betty Lauren Maltese, with 90% of the vote. Shulo has been indicted for embezzlement. So it looks like Betty Lauren Maltese is on her way to a big victory in that race. With more on the Cicero races tonight, let's go live now to WGN's Eddie Aruza at Lauren Maltese headquarters. Eddie.
Well, Steve, supporters of Cicero Town President Betty Lauren Maltese are now waiting for her here to give some sort of victory speech, which we were told she would not do until all of the votes are counted, which they now are, but we've yet to hear from her. And now that this race has turned out the way that most people thought it would, it's going to make for a very interesting 5 weeks leading up to the general election. Cicero Town President Betty Lauren Maltese cast her ballot late this afternoon on a day in which Cicero voters encountered some new and unusual things at their polling places. For one thing, Cook County unveiled its new voting machines designed to detect ballot problems instantly. But more imposing were the 25 U.S. Justice Department observers stationed at select precincts. The federal monitors were looking out for any signs of discrimination against Latino voters. But even with all that, the Republican and Democratic frontrunners accused each other of election problems.
We had a gentleman at another polling place that was registering gangbangers today. You cannot register people today.
And there were some police officers standing in front of the doors with their squad car parked out in front. They may not have been passing literature, but they certainly were talking to voters, and they had an intimidating presence.
If, as expected, Lauren Maltese and Moreno each win their respective party nominations, the two say they're ready for a lively campaign leading up to the April 3rd election.
We will go out on the attack, and the attack will be a positive one. We'll be talking about her legacy with the school systems, with the deteriorating infrastructure, with the inability to attract solid and substantial manufacturing and other industrial companies.
That Mr. Moreno is going to have to run her away from his record, and that's evident by his actions on the county board and his representation of the same people in the city that have moved from the city to Cicero.
And we also want to give you the numbers on the Democratic side of this primary election. Cook County Commissioner Joseph Mario Moreno has defeated his opponent Victor Armendariz by a margin of 83% to 17%. And we're told that just a short while ago, and only a few blocks from here, Commissioner Moreno gave his victory speech saying that he is now ready to debate Betty Lauren Maltese. As for voter turnout, it was relatively low here in Cicero today, with around 24,000 registered voters, less than half, or about 11,000 cast ballots today. We are live in Cicero tonight. Eddie Aruza, WGN News.
Eddie, thank you very much. Of course, there are a couple of aldermanic races in Chicago, and we'll have some numbers for you later on tonight in those elections. Still ahead tonight, his name is Jeremiah Mearday, and he caught a lot of attention when 2 Chicago police officers were fired for beating him.
Now he is on trial for battery for fighting with police. We have an update just ahead.
But first, imagine working at a career for years, then suddenly losing your job. Some folks have to start again in a whole new field, and some love it. Career makeovers. That's tonight's cover story. Then,
I'm Dina Baer on the Medical Watch. Cutting down on Prozac, how a new dose may help battle depression with less medication. Coming up on the Medical Watch.
And I'm Tom Skilling in the Weather Center. Well, we didn't have to shovel any snow. Folks down in Missouri did today, but we lost ground on the temperature, and it will stay chilly tomorrow. But we may have 4 days of blustery, cool easterly winds to follow that right on through the coming weekend. We'll have details on why that's going to happen, plus Ask Tom tonight, all coming up.
You're watching Chicago's very own WGN News with Steve Sanders, Allison Payne, Tom Skilling, and Dan Roan. This is WGN News at 9.
In a world where nothing matters.
I'm not a very nice person to know.
Where people have nothing to lose.
We're supposed to improve the quality of life and make a lot of money.
Trust no one.
You setting me up, Brendan?
What is it you want anyway?
It is time the tough got going.
And watch your back. Tommy Lee Jones, Melanie Griffith, Sting, Stormy Monday.
Wednesday at 8 Eastern, 7 Central on WGN.
Change is good.
That's why if you deal with occasional loss of bladder control, improved Poise pads are for you. They've been redesigned for a close, custom fit. First, they gently raise the center, bringing protection closer to you. Then, they change the shape, making one end wider than the other, so you can place the absorbency where you need it most. That's the beauty of this close, custom fit, and only Poise has it. See, change always does you good.
Parents, you can't protect your kids from the world. Of the nearly 20 million children under 5, about 1,400 contracted pneumococcal meningitis last year. That's 7 out of every 100,000. Many of these children suffered permanent hearing loss and paralysis. But there is an important vaccine called Prevnar for infants and toddlers that can help prevent this and other serious diseases caused by the pneumococcus bacteria. Prevnar does not protect 100% of children vaccinated against pneumococcal types not contained in the vaccine or against other causes of meningitis. The vaccine should not be used in children who have severe or moderate illness with fever, have bleeding disorders, or are allergic to latex or any vaccine component. In clinical trials, the most common side effects were injection site reactions, fever, irritability, drowsiness, restless sleep, and decreased appetite. Ask your child's doctor about Prevnar. Do it today.
It's a fast-growing trend. Companies are downsizing or disappearing altogether. What do you do? How would you handle a layoff?
Well, there are some answers. Kim Johnson is here with more in tonight's cover story. Kim?
Good evening, everyone. Well, are you one of the many people who'd like nothing more than to quit your job? Chances are you are. But what if your job quits you? Would a layoff be the worst thing that ever happened to you? Or could it be the first step in a career makeover? Teacher, doctor, bus driver. How do you make a living? And if you could do something completely different, what would it be?
Successful entrepreneur.
Singing in a choir and getting paid for it.
To open a university.
My dream job would be to win the $1 million lottery.
I would be a photographer for Playboy.
Get the picture? You're not the only person who's thought of doing something else, but what if that decision were made for you? What if you were laid off? After 18 years with Rand McNally, Greg Pettinen lost his job. Now he helps other people who are going through the same thing, and he says being laid off no longer carries a stigma.
It's interesting where we used to think of a lifetime culture of employment, and if you change jobs frequently, you're a job hopper. Today, changing jobs means you're a career manager.
But for so many people, working is part of their life fabric, their mental texture. Sareda Amani loved her job in corporate philanthropy, but didn't like the company.
The CEO one day was no longer the CEO, and the very next day I no longer worked for the company.
Now nestled creatively as an interior design shop franchisee, she wishes she'd been let go sooner.
I was definitely scared, but I was more scared of going back into the corporation and spending the rest of my life living under those circumstances than I was scared of a new endeavor. I'm happy. I think that is probably it in a nutshell. I have a new word for work, and it's called fun.
John Nishimura spent years with Commonwealth Edison as a project manager. Now he's a Mr. Handyman franchisee. He says being laid off can make you think you did something wrong.
A lot of things pass through your mind. You know, I should have done this, I should have done that, or maybe if I did this, it would have been better. Or maybe if that other opportunity was there and I should have went there for that opportunity. And so you got a lot of shouldas.
He chose to change industries, did his homework, and got what he wanted.
Yeah, I was afraid, you know, because I'm stepping over a territory I don't know.
Wards, gone. Lucent, Motorola, and a number of other traditional and web-based companies have had layoffs by the thousands. Now, shakeups like those certainly can force people to redefine their idea of career longevity. Terry Osberg, with an accounting background, spent 14 years with a pharmaceutical company.
I was so happy in what I was doing, and I had hoped to retire with this particular company.
Now, in a job search, she's asking herself some hard questions.
Do I have a pool of resources that I can tap if I should go to another company that should have a merger or some other sort of reorganization? Are my skills up to date?
Paul Finnegan is asking those questions too. With a background in medicine, he switched to pharmaceuticals. He says being laid off takes you through a grieving process that has to happen so you can get back to being the real you.
Don't deny it. If you're angry, get angry, but get it out of the way. If you're sad, talk to your friends, talk about it. But it's really important to go through the stages of...
Paul kickboxes to relieve stress. He says getting rid of anger has allowed him to be more productive in his job search.
It's very important to really research your industry. Who are the players? What's going on with the big players? What's going on with the small players?
Experts will tell you, don't rush into your search and don't panic. If you really want to work again, you will. Evaluate your financial situation. How long can you afford to hold out for what you really want? Make a list of everybody you know and network. You'd be surprised how many jobs are filled based on referrals. Make a list of what you can do and what skills make you unique. You've probably acquired some skills that are easily transferable to a completely different field. And think long-term, not just about your next job.
I would say the most important thing that the people have to have is belief in themselves.
You need to control your career and not let someone else control it for you anymore.
Now, two of the people you heard from decided to have a bit of autonomy by building their business within a business that already exists. That is, they're becoming franchisees. Many people like that because it allows some freedom, but eliminates the risks of starting a business all alone. For more information on franchising and coping with layoffs, you can check out our website at www.wgntv.com.
Very relevant story, Kim.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
And the lottery drawing is next.
Indoors or outdoors, you should see your best.
Right now at LensCrafters, complete pairs of prescription glasses or sunglasses are only $99 each. Why not get both? The $99 indoor-outdoor sale. Hurry, offer ends soon.
Who says you have to be all sweetness and light? A little tartness can be refreshing. Crystal Light Ruby Red Grapefruit, a fruity blend of tart and sweet and just 5 calories. So, drink to your heart's content.
Crystal Light!
Get with the real.
Come on, man. You can fix anything.
MacGyver. Weekdays at 11 Eastern, 10 Central on WGN.
Live from WGN-TV Chicago, the official drawing of the Illinois Lottery.
And good evening, Dean Richards with your Illinois Lottery for Tuesday, February 27th, 2001, and the Pick 3 game is up first. And here's tonight's first winning Pick 3 number. It is 5. The second winning number tonight is 1. And the third and final number tonight is also 1. So for tonight, the official Pick 3 number is 5, 1, and 1. And now it's time for the Pick 4 game. We'll drop and mix the balls in each of the machines. And a reminder for you, the multi-state big game drawing, make that $15 million to a single winner. We'll tell you about the $32 million in just a minute. First winning number tonight for Pick 4 is 0. Second winning number is 9. The third number is 1. And the fourth and final number tonight is 9. And so the official Pick 4 number for tonight, 0919. And now it's time for the Little Lotto game. This is the one we play 5 nights a week with tens of thousands of winners and even more opportunities now for you to win. Good luck. The first winning number is 26. The second number, 11. The third number is 22. The fourth number, 4. And the fifth and final number tonight is 1. And so the official Little Lotto numbers are 26, 11, 22, 4, and 1. And be sure to join us tomorrow night for Pick 3, Pick 4, Little Lotto. Tomorrow night's Lotto jackpot is $32 million. I'm Dean Richards. Have a good night.
Tonight's lottery drawing has been supervised by the accounting firm of Altshuler, Melvoin, and Glasser and is brought to you by WGN-TV.
A savvy lawyer who's smooth with the ladies. This swinger won't take any slack.
I like to be on the edge once in a while.
And boy, does he know his facts.
Oh, come on.
He's mystery. He's money. He's Matlock.
Weeknights at 12 Eastern, 11 Central on WGN.
It hit me when my wife got pregnant. Just knowing that my son was on the way inspired me to lose weight and get healthy. I tried all these different things and nothing was working. I thought I was doomed. Then I saw a Slim Fast commercial and I thought, okay, I'll give it a try. I lost over 50 pounds on the Slim Fast plan. I found a whole new reason for living. I'm real high energy now. I drink Slim Fast every day. The shakes really satisfy me. There's about a gazillion vitamins and minerals and healthy stuff. It's just great. It's a wonderful thing.
Slim Fast. Every day. Get healthy.
You really can do it.
Stop pulling garden weeds. Prevent them with Miracle-Gro Garden Weed Prevent. It actually prevents weed seeds from germinating. With its unique applicator, you just twist, pull, and apply Garden Weed Prevent exactly where you want. Why pull weeds? Stop them before they start with Miracle-Gro Garden Weed Prevent.
You have reached a gecko. You probably wanted Geico, which could save you hundreds on car insurance. Don't be embarrassed. Happens all the time. Have a nice day.
Geico. A 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Car insurance bills getting too hot to handle? Geico. A 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
President Bush makes a primetime sales pitch to America. In his first major televised speech as president, Mr. Bush tonight outlined a budget plan that calls for a major tax cut. WGN's Grant Rampey is live on Capitol Hill with details of the president's plan and reaction. Grant?
Evening, Allison. A lot going on here in Statuary Hall. You can't see behind the camera, but there are only about 2,000 politicians trying to get in front of every single camera that's out here. The Republicans saying, boy, did we love what we heard. The Democrats saying, this is lousy, we're not going to stand for it. You can imagine the responses. Spending, schools, energy, the environment, that's what the president covered among other things in all his time. Message aimed at the American people, not necessarily at the politicians here, though they seem to give him quite a warm reception.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
A night of firsts for President Bush, the first time he's heard that line delivered under the Capitol Dome, the first time in 50 years that a Republican president has addressed a Republican Congress. Also, for many in the country, this is their first introduction to the new chief executive.
We're off to a good start. I will continue to meet with you and ask for your input. You have been kind and candid, and I thank you for making a new president feel welcome.
The thrust of this speech, Bush says taxpayers deserve a $1.6 trillion tax cut over 10 years. And they shouldn't worry that there won't be enough money left over for debt reduction, for new spending on education, Social Security, and the military, if Congress acts responsibly.
Some say my tax plan is too big. Others say it's too small. I respectfully disagree. This plan is just right.
The tax cut push comes as the economy is slowing. New numbers show consumer confidence slipping for the 5th month in a row to the lowest point in 4 years. Bush thinks his cut could turn things around. Bush says he didn't want to put folks to sleep tonight, so he skimped on the details of his budget plan. They'll come out in the morning. Also, the president will begin a 2-day, 5-city barnstorming tour, trying to sell the country on his tax cut plan campaign style. Live on Capitol Hill, Grant Rampey, WGN News.
All right, Grant, thank you.
Jeremiah Mearday, a one-time victim of police brutality, stands trial this week accused of beating the police. His attorneys have long argued that it's a frame-up, and a transcript of police radio tapes released today raises further questions. This is the way most Chicagoans remember Jeremiah Mearday, his jaw broken, his face battered after an arrest in September 1997. Mearday's beating resulted in months of widespread protests and ultimately the firing of 2 Chicago police officers, James Comito and Matthew Thiel. Just 7 days after those officers were fired, Mearday was arrested again. His attorneys say that second arrest was bogus. They say officers wanted revenge for their fired colleagues. Attorneys say police were so embittered against Mearday, they tried to frame him for an unrelated police shooting. A transcript of police radio calls was unsealed today. Can you get somebody to identify Jeremiah Mearday as one of the shooters? I thought I saw Mearday jump out of the back of that van. You never know. 8 hours after those radio calls, Mearday was arrested in front of his West Side home, not for the shooting, but on drug charges, which were later dropped. Officers say Mearday tried to run and resisted arrest by throwing punches. It's those battery charges which Mearday stands trial for now. Prosecutors have argued that Mearday's history is irrelevant, but today, Judge Ronald Himmel ruled otherwise. Jurors will hear all about Mearday's beating and the resulting protests. The judge is also allowing the jury to hear those radio tapes. Only 4 jurors were seated this evening. Jury selection continues tomorrow morning, and those 2 police officers fired for Mearday's beating, they were never criminally charged. Well, a respectable winter storm, that sounds like a Tom Skilling phrase, doesn't it? Respectable winter storm, anyway, continues to affect areas south of here, while our weather stays quiet.
Tom's full forecast is next, but first, the very warm Dan Roan.
Hello, Allison and Steve. Tonight in sports, the Bears ditched one of their first-round draft picks with the free agent signing period just around the corner. Frank Thomas does show up at Sox camp, complete with baggage and attitude. We'll hear from him. And the Blackhawks, mounting a serious late-season playoff run, will have it all in 20 minutes.
A parent's greatest fear.
I found marijuana in the house.
Becomes a question of trust.
Sounds like I'm already guilty.
And a test of faith.
It's not enough that you're smoking dope. You have to bring it into our house.
Next, Seventh Heaven.
Tomorrow at 5 Eastern on WGN.
Who's a Remi-feminist?
I am. I'm totally into Remi-Fem menopause. It helps my symptoms physical and emotional.
I'm a Remi-feminist. Take it twice a day to reduce symptoms both day and night. I'm a Remi-feminist because it's not a drug and it doesn't add to weight gain, and that's great.
I read in a clinical study there was up to a 70% reduction of symptoms in just 12 weeks. Works for me. I'm a Remi-feminist.
Remi-Femin. When you're a Remi-feminist, you face menopause with confidence.
The cleaning power of toothpaste. The freshness of mouthwash. Together. New Colgate 2-in-1. Toothpaste and mouthwash. A unique liquid gel. It cleans hard-to-reach places and kills germs that cause bad breath. New Colgate 2-in-1.
For itchy patches of dry winter skin, moisturizers can't always cut it. Try Cortisone 10 Plus. Among these, only Cortisone 10 Plus has 10 moisturizers, plus the power of Cortisone 10 to stop itch and help heal. Try Cortisone 10 Plus.
1-800-CONTACTS. Exact same contact lenses, delivered to your door for less than you're paying now. Call 1-800-CONTACTS. We deliver, you save.
Indoors or outdoors, you should see your best.
Right now at LensCrafters, complete pairs of prescription glasses or sunglasses are only $99 each. Why not get both? The $99 indoor-outdoor sale. Hurry, offer ends March 10th.
Freezing chicken? Only Ziploc double guard freezer bags have an inner layer that clings to seal out air that causes freezer burn. Regular freezer bags don't. Put an end to freezer burn with a Ziploc double guard freezer bag. Freezing steak? Only Ziploc double guard freezer bags have an inner layer that clings to seal out air that causes freezer burn. Regular freezer bags don't. Put an end to freezer burn with a Ziploc double guard freezer bag.
The mighty Mississippi, where danger and betrayal follow the money. Tommy Lee Jones, Brian Dennehy, The River Rat.
Thursday at 8 Eastern on WGN.
You're watching Chicago's very own WGN News at 9.
And Tom Skilling joining us now. Look at the weather. This storm to the south of us, it's a respectable storm, right?
A respectable storm. That's right, as all storms are. You gotta play with the atmosphere a lot to get a storm to develop, Steve and Allison. So anytime nature puts all these things together, you might not want to be under it, but there's been no fooling around on the nature scene to bring that thing together. 9 inches of snow fell on parts of Missouri. Meantime, we know we're making progress towards spring because tomorrow is the final day of February. And meteorologists like to say March 1st begins what they call meteorological spring. We call that meteorological spring because we found the weather generally does start changing into the more spring-like mode by that time. But the astronomers will tell you that spring doesn't officially begin until March the 20th. And in this case, this year, it's at 1:35 in the morning. So take your pick. But day after tomorrow, meteorological spring at least begins, and we close the book on meteorological winter. which includes this storm, the latest in a series to come through the United States, but this one down to the south of us. Its snows, however, have reached northward into parts of Missouri, Iowa, and even downstate Illinois under these clouds, which just whisk across the area as high and mid-level clouds here today. We didn't have any snow, although this morning folks in Kankakee County woke up with a dusting of snow from flurries there. Here's the moisture down to the south, but look at the winds laid in over them, and you can see this is not pumping this moisture up our way, instead into the Gulf states, and that's where the heaviest moisture will fall. And that high pressure is taking control of our airspace is pretty evident as you watch the shrinking returns from the radar here as snows diminish downstate. We do have some snow reports all the way from the Ohio River, where it's rain in Louisville, back through Terre Haute, Indiana, St. Louis, north of Springfield and Joplin, and Kansas City. Kansas City saw about 4.5 inches of snow today. Here in Chicago, though, it's 24 degrees right now and below zero or single digits from central Wisconsin northward. Last night it went down to 14 below up by International Falls and in Bismarck, North Dakota. And here was the high pressure center pumping its northerly winds, and the cold temperatures into Chicago today. Our high was 11 degrees colder than yesterday, and boy, it felt every degree of it too. These are the winds at the moment, still blowing from the northwest and due to turn a little more southwest tomorrow. Here they are, the highs today. The 29 at O'Hare is close to 10 degrees below average, besides being cooler than yesterday, and the lakefront made 33. We may be even a degree or two cooler than that tomorrow, as the trajectory of this weather system's movement is in from the Dakotas, where they do have snow on the ground. We don't, and that's why when you bring this air mass over bare ground and expose it to February sun, we warm up a little bit over what the air mass has done upstream of us, where it's come off the snow cover. At this time, the cold air covers all of Canada, reaches down into the United States, and it does appear the general tone is no extreme cold over the next week, but kind of a seasonable brand of cold. The big thing will be a strong easterly wind later this week that develops between a big Canadian high and a storm that will develop on the south edge of this jet stream this weekend and late this week. There'll be a powerful easterly band of winds that blows 1,300 miles over an area 1,300 miles wide from up by the Great Lakes down to the Gulf Coast. Those east winds will be cool and come off the icy lake waters. But for the time being, lighter winds tomorrow and winds at the upper atmosphere coming in from the northwest, and that's why Canadian air is dominant here, and that's not the kind of air mass that does to us what the Gulf air last weekend did, namely rain or snow in any sort of big way. So all's quiet on the weather scene, a night which will see skies become a little clearer and colder, and temperatures drop down to about 9 above. North-northwest winds blow at 3 to 12. Tomorrow starts with total sunshine, but high and mid-level cloudiness will begin developing in the afternoon and evening. A high tomorrow of 27. That's below average for the last day of February of 2001. The winds will veer northwest in the afternoon at 11 to 24. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy, breezy, not as cold, only teens expected around Chicago. And on Thursday, not a bad day at all. Looks like a mix of sun and clouds. Temperatures just a tad below average, but not far from it, 33 degrees. And then those east winds start blowing Friday and strongly all through the weekend and early next week.
Wow.
But if we can get by with nothing more than that and watch a storm go south of us this weekend, which we hope is going to happen, we're doing pretty well.
We're lucky, huh?
Yeah, we are indeed. That's right.
Don't go anywhere.
All right.
And ahead in tonight's Ask Tom, what happens to Lake Michigan's water levels in the winter?
Tom gives us the ups and downs on that and where lake effect snow goes when the lake freezes over next.
I've got this life philosophy. When you get thrown, you get right back up. So I took control with Depend protective underwear. It's different because it's the closest thing to regular underwear out there and the only one with Depend's trusted protection system. So I don't have to worry. Except for the 500 head I gotta herd. On, girl. Take control with Depend.
You wouldn't think that 4 daughters would be tough on a lawn, but believe me, they are. In the spring of each year, I like to put down turf builder with halts. Put a preventative barrier down on the lawn to take care of the crabgrass. They never gets a chance to get started. See how nice and thick that is? I'm not only getting rid of the crabgrass, but I'm strengthening up the lawn. Scott's works better than anything else there's out there. There is no other brand in my opinion. I got daughters and I've got Scott's. I'm all set. There's no crabgrass here. Put down turf builder with halts. See any crabgrass here?
When you're coughing, your throat's raw. Honey cough drops combine the great taste of pure, soothing honey with an all-natural cough suppressant. Real honey, real relief. Honey cough drops from Robitussin.
Ooh, Billy's snatch bars. Come on, Fluffy. Let's see what you've learned. Sit. Good boy. We deserve a treat for that. Cheesecake.
Yo, yo.
Down.
Yo.
Very good. Up.
Yo, yo.
That's really incredible.
Treat yourself to the rich and creamy cheesecake taste of Philadelphia snack bars.
Here you go, Fluffy.
They're a little taste of heaven.
Don't make me come up there.
In love, they wrote the rules. Rules that were meant to be broken. Fatal Attraction. Friday at 8 Eastern on WGN.
Tonight's Ask Tom questions are all about Lake Michigan. Jim Peters wants to know if all the snow and rain this winter will cause the level of Lake Michigan to rise at all. Jim, you will see the lake rise this spring, but it's more a result of seasonal swings than our heavy snowfall. Driven by natural forces, Lake Michigan water levels decline during the cold season, usually about a foot. In the winter, snow remains on the ground, tying up moisture that would otherwise drain into the lake. And cold, dry air blowing across the unfrozen lake surface greatly increases wintertime evaporation. In the spring, snowmelt followed by heavier spring and summer rains cause the lake to rise. On average, Lake Michigan is lowest in March and highest in August. The present Midwest snowpack is still intact, but southern portions have dissipated due to evaporation and gradual melting. This year, the Army Corps of Engineers estimates the lake will rise perhaps 1.5 feet by July, instead of the usual 1 foot gain. Viewer Kevin Regan wants to know if Lake Michigan were to freeze over, would that stop lake effect snows? Kevin, the answer is yes. When one of the Great Lakes freezes over, it becomes in effect nothing more than snow and ice-covered ground. Lake effect snows develop when cold air passes over warmer waters of a lake. Moisture evaporates into the cold air, condenses into clouds, and if the air is cold enough, produces snow. But when a lake freezes over, that evaporation ceases and lake effect clouds and snow vanish. However, Lake Michigan almost never freezes over, even in the harshest Midwest winters. That's because its huge volume of water retains so much heat from the preceding summer. The National Weather Service in Buffalo, New York reports that abundant lake snow often shuts down in mid and late winter there when Lake Erie, the shallowest of the Great Lakes, becomes 80% or more ice-covered. And here's a sign of the times. Next week is Severe Weather Preparedness Week. We'll talk about that and Chicago skyscrapers that produce clouds. And Steve and Allison, we've set the date for our Fermilab Severe Weather Seminar in Batavia this year. It'll be April 7th. But we'll be talking more about that in the weeks ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll see you later.
Ahead on the Medical Watch. Think you feel tired these days? What about your kids?
That's right. If they are like most kids today, they may be sleep deprived. Dina Baer has that story and more next on the Medical Watch.
Suddenly Susan. Wow, what a feeling of power. Suddenly single. Hey, it's the dating game. Suddenly scandalous.